Welcome to the OBR streaming network. It's game day, baby. It's the pregame show. Browns and Saints football is back after a extremely long bye week. Let's go. Jackson in the chat already calling the Browns victory 23-20. My name is Brad Ward. The man next to me is the one and only Casey Kinnaman. Follow him on Twitter at Casey_Kinnaman. We are here to discuss. Does my hat look like a little all right? How are we doing there? All right. Here we discuss the Browns and Saints. The Browns in the Superdome today, 1 p.m. They started out, Casey, as 1.5 dogs, and they are favorites now by 1.5. Over under of 44. And quick turnaround here. Browns play today, turn around on Thursday night, get the Steelers at home to finish their first half of the AFC North schedule, which was all at home, right? And then all on the road in the second half. Kind of a schedule quirk a little bit there.
For sure.
But we've got much to discuss today. As the Saints is a winnable game, it feels like, Casey, does it not?
Oh, it absolutely does, man. We're talking about a team who just had to fire their head coach, and they already got their interim coach bump out of the way. Hopefully that doesn't carry over to this week. Although when I was thinking about it, I'm kind of disappointed they fired Dennis Allen before this game because the word revenge game gets thrown around a lot. And I don't necessarily would feel like Jameis is a revengeful person, but if Dennis Allen was still the coach, I think there would be more on the line for him, particularly because I was the guy who passed him over several times. But yeah, this is a very winnable game, man. They're down their top two wide receivers. Their offense is Alvin Kamara or bust, and defense, they're boom or bust.
Winnable game, yes, but when you talk about revenge, Joe Woods will be walking the sidelines on the other side. Joe Woods looking for his revenge against the Browns. Some familiar faces over there, Clint Kubiak and two other guys that I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but that served with Stefanski on the Minnesota coaching staff. So a lot of familiarity here in between these two staffs. And some familiarity where they stand in their seasons here a little bit too. Both teams with 2 wins, but Browns looking to get back in the win column today after a disappointing effort against the Chargers. Chargers a good team, better team than I thought they would be. You had that. You had them being pretty good.
I did, but I still thought the Browns would have a better chance to compete against them than they did. That their strengths kind of really took away what you did, especially their defense. They smothered the Browns' offense out, and the defense held up for as long as they could. You have 2 busted coverages, and at the end of the day, that ended up being the difference in the game, but only because of a garbage touchdown. In my mind, you only scored 3. I know the Tillman will get credit for that last touchdown, but like in all essence, they pretty much just choked out the offense.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely did. They were, playing the run game with light boxes, taking away Jameis's first reads. They were on top of it. And so we get the Saints today. Let's talk a little bit about, let's start with Casey, our inactive list today. Bailey Zappi will be your emergency quarterback. You've got Jalen Darden on the inactive list, Jed Wills on the inactive list, Chigoze, Anusium is the new cornerback for the Browns. Chigoze Anusium, I want to get that right. And he is on the inactive list, and then Deontay Foreman. So that is your inactive list. Any surprises there for you?
I mean, the Browns made a business decision of their own. Took someone who was a full participant all week in Jedrick Wills and decided you were going to be out. I think that's kind of a message right there. But after that, no. If you follow Jack Duffin, he was on it, and he had this pretty much to a T. So The Foreman one always disappoints me. I think he'd be a good complement to what you do in the running game, but for whatever reason, they've kind of pivoted away from him and leaned in to Strong getting those bonus reps. Now that Ford's healthy and you got Chubb back, so not the rotation I would prefer, but at the end of the day, if it's your third running back, can't be too disappointed that he's not getting in.
Surprise of the day, Kadarius Toney making his Browns debut. Case, what do you think, man? So it was somebody reported that he will play some at wide receiver, and he also will probably return some punts or kicks. So Kadarius Toney on the Browns, live action.
The dude is a chaos merchant. Like that.
Merchant.
Talk about boom or bust. I'm excited to see him return punts because he's a guy that in the open field can really make stuff happen. But like he has a proclivity for having trouble lining up, and for a team that's already had issues with that, it's like, do we want to add to that? So it'll be interesting to see how many touches they manufacture for him. Something I'm going to be looking at because he is phenomenal with the ball in his hands. There's no doubt about it. But it's the process of getting lined up correctly and being where you're supposed to be. And, we already have a quarterback who can be reckless and turn the ball over. You need to be where you need to be. You know what I mean? Any miscommunications there, especially against the Saints defense, who already has 12 interceptions on the season. That's something they do well. So I just need hopefully limited snaps on offense, but I am excited to see him on the return game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they use him for sure. Are you surprised that he is active?
No, you went and got him for a reason. You've had him for several weeks now. You've kind of got to see him practice, acclimate him. You had this bye week. You obviously feel decent about it enough to have Darden out, and Darden's been decent returning punts. So you feel like he gives you a little bit of a spark, at least in that area. But he's a talented player. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was taken in the first round for a reason. But there's also other things that come along with Kadarius. So you got to try to mitigate that and hope that doesn't derail what you're trying to do. But at the end, man, when you have that much talent, you're always going to get a shot.
Yeah, you got to get him there. He's got to be there mentally. Mm-hmm. We've seen those mistakes over the years with the Chiefs and some of the silly things that he's done on the field. So that is certainly in the realm of outcomes. So you want to lean away from that. Interesting stuff here. So if the Browns go into their bye week, I wrote a little bit about this morning on Ken Dorsey, but just the offense in general. So you go into this bye week, you self-scout, and self-scouting, for those of you that don't know, teams do it on a bye week. You pretend like basically you're playing yourself, right? So you're going to watch film and approach the bye week like you're playing your own team. So you're looking for tendencies and things like that other teams would pick up on that maybe you're not aware of, right? Plus you're looking for what works, what doesn't, trends, all of these things. Generally, it can be a very good thing. It can be a cleansing thing to a lot of stuff that hasn't worked, and identifying like, hey, this defense knows what's coming on this play every time. We can see it. When you view it from that other lens, it changes things, right? And the self-scouting process is a very useful one that was done and talked about in the bye week. You expect to see any big changes coming out?
No, I don't know about big. I mean, we've been waiting for a change up in several areas that we haven't seen yet. And I'm hoping the self-scout reveals some things to these guys. I'm hoping that someone like Vrabel, who's got a different type of lens, is able to kind of help with that. So you can, really, because this Jim Schwartz faces this offense every day when they go and practice. Same thing with Dorsey and Stefanski against the defense. So getting someone who's kind of impartial to that and can kind of take a different look at it, can reveal some things they need to do. And I'm hoping that it's able to jumpstart this run game. For me, that's the most disappointing thing, is their early down running game has been so inefficient that it puts you in disadvantageous positions, and they haven't been able to overcome often enough. So that if this team, especially now that Chubb's got a few games under his belt, he's had some flashes looking like himself, but that off week of, just getting healthier, hopefully we start to see more of an explosive run game, because we know with Jameis, you can be explosive in the vertical game. That's already revealed itself, but you need to find ways to be explosive in the run game. And I think that's what really takes this offense up a notch.
You're watching the OBR Pregame show, getting you ready for 1 o'clock kick. It's the Browns at the Saints in the Superdome, coming off the bye week. We are on youtube.com/Orange and Brown Report. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and the notification bell. Do all the things. If you're over on X, head on over to YouTube. Jump in that chat. Give us a like and a subscription as we push towards 5,000 here at the channel. So when you talk about the Saints case, we talk about a couple key players. Derek Carr to start with. What was the word you said? He's risk averse.
No, to the point of malpractice. Third down, just chucking it out of bounds. But you also got to take into factor their top 2 wide receivers are out. He's not comfortable with some of the guys. But he makes some curious decisions back there, man. He leaves a ton of meat on the bone.
Yeah. Their wide receiver core is decimated. Chris Olave out. Rashid, what's his name? Shaheed. What is it? Rashid Shaheed. Yeah. Two really good wide receivers gone. They're going to use Taysom Hill in some weird ways, in some different ways. And Alvin Kamara is the guy that makes this offense go. This is an offense that is ranked 16th in total offense, 16th in passing offense, 13th in rushing offense case.
Yeah, pretty middle of the road, but when you kind of break it apart and look at the individual players, man, Kamara's the engine. They're going to go as far as he goes. And we talked about it on Thursday, and it's like he's not getting the same kind of attention he was getting when he came into the league. But if you just look, he's 1,136 yards from scrimmage this year. You know what I mean? He's still very effective. 715 yards rushing, 421 through the air, 7 total touchdowns. He's still that guy, man. When I did my matchups to watch for me, it's Kamara versus this linebacking unit. It's about getting him on the ground with first contact, because he's very deceiving. He looks slight of frame kind of, but he plays with tremendous play strength. I mean, arm tackles, he'll breeze right through him, and he always falls forward. He does the little things. That's the offensive focal point for me. You're going to have to deal with Juwan Jennings, and you're going to have to deal with Taysom Hill and the odd stuff they kind of do. Marquez Valdez-Scantling kind of burst for them last week and gives them a deep threat at least. But at the end of the day, man, if you can mitigate what Kamara does on the field, man, you will have a great chance to win this game.
Yeah. It was Jawan Johnson. Is that their tight end? I think he scored a touchdown in 4 of 5 or something like that.
He's good. He's good. He's someone Carr's comfortable with. And for Carr, that's a lot of it. If Carr's not comfortable with you, man, he's not going to throw to you.
100%. So, to slow them down, you mentioned the key being the linebackers. It'll be Jordan Hicks and Diabate today, right? Are we getting Hicks playing, right?
Yep, he wasn't inactive. And you got Bush, maybe even get some Bookie Watson, Winston Reed.
Yeah.
But yes, mainly Diabate and Hicks. And Diabate has the physical skills to match up with someone like Kamara. We'll see how they employ them, because Diabate's been playing a ton of Mike. Will they move Hicks over to Will, or they let Hicks be middle and kind of move Diabate around? It'd be interesting to see how they approach this.
Yeah, well, interesting to see what changes Schwartz wants to throw out there coming off of his bye week, his self-scout, his look at things. The broken coverages against the Chargers were inexcusable. Can't happen. Feels like it's happened way too much in the past. You know what I mean? In the years, it's probably happened 3-4 times. Am I?
I feel like it's probably more than that.
Think? More than
and it
that?
might just be PTSD from all the times that it's happened that it looms larger in my head. But it's been like through different coordinators. It isn't just because we were like, it's a Joe Woods problem. It's more than that. It's spanned multiple coordinators now, and it pops up at inopportune times. And we see this through our lens. It seems like every time that it happens, the other quarterback takes advantage of it. Whereas when it happens against us, we seem to miss that guy who's streaking wide open down the field.
Oh, you froze up there for a minute. You with me?
Yeah. Where'd I leave off?
I missed what you said there. I apologize.
I just, it feels like it's happened more than a handful of times because we just remember it so often when it happens. But it's such a juxtaposition because when we do it, when we blow a coverage, the other quarterback always hits the guy, always. And when what happens to us and they blow a coverage, we seem to miss the guy that's streaking wide open down the field. So.
Always ends up in a touchdown somehow, right? So twice last week, and more up. And look who we got here. We've got the one and only Jack Duffin from across the pond. Yes, Jack, how we doing, brother?
Yeah, across the pond. Happy to be here. Traffic was a lot worse than expected, so got here as soon as I could.
Yeah, game day, baby. Let's go. What's up, Jack? Did you nail the inactives? Zappy, Darden, Wills, Anusium, and Foreman.
Yeah, so nailed 4, and then Darden was like, it was either him or a linebacker. So I wrote that it was in that mix. I just didn't know where the final one was going to go. But it was him or a 6th linebacker. And I think it makes sense at the end of the day if you can find a role for Tony where even if he just returns the same as Darden and you get 2 snaps a game where you do a jet sweep or you do something funky with him, he brings more to the offense than Darden's ever going to do. And if anything, this last spell of the season is the time to experiment, do stuff and go, could this guy be the 6th wide receiver next year? And the same way with like the cornerback they picked up was always going to be inactive. Probably going to be inactive until the end of the season. He's more for next season. They've probably gone, actually, we think he could be useful. Let's give him a shot in training camp next year, but you've got to pick him up now to guarantee that.
I like the corner they picked up. I like his size, athleticism, so I like his profile. That'll be interesting. All right, so we're talking about this matchup here. Jack, I've been talking to Casey about it. Saints 16th in total offense, 16th in passing offense, 13th in rushing offense, missing 2 major wide receivers here. Derek Carr, we talked about, very risk averse, but a lot of this revolves around Kamara and their new emerged weapon of MVS last week. So what are you thinking defensively the Browns need to do to slow down the Saints today?
I reckon you just tell the 2 linebackers your job's to keep an eye on Kamara. If you task them both with that, and pretty much then I'm not too worried. Delpit's done a great job in his career matching up with tight ends, so that shouldn't be a major threat there. And if this cornerback trio can't look after 1 wide receiver in MVS, it's not like even we're talking, hey, it's Devontae Adams, and then fair enough if you get beat by Devontae Adams, that's just bad luck. So I feel we should play really well. There's no excuse where I can see it being a tight game, but one of those games where you win by 3, but you always felt like you were going to win throughout the entire game.
And the boss himself, big boss man, Barry McBride in the house. Good to see you here. Game day pregame show on the OBR streaming network. What's going on, Barry? I saw you in the chat threatening to come on here, and then here you are.
Yeah, I almost didn't because Jack brought his energy to the show, and I figured I would cancel him out with my unfocused thinking and lack of knowledge. So you've been canceled out, Jack.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense. So we're thinking that this is a very winnable game. Very on the schedule. There's a few that look winnable, the rest of the way, but this looks like one of the more winnable ones left, I would say. And it would be nice to get some momentum to go into Thursday Night Football. The quick turnaround, it's going to be a crazy week. They're going to play twice in 6 days. How you feeling about this one, Barry?
I feel as good as I can, considering that I'm a fan of the Cleveland Browns. When Fred and I did the schedule game a couple of weeks ago, we all pointed to this one as the one that we felt somewhat confident about. I just need the special teams not to implode. I need our coverage, our defensive backs to coordinate with each other and also not to implode. And as you guys were discussing, I need Grant Delpit and some others to keep a very sharp eye on Alvin Kamara today and not let him get started. If those things can happen, we have a chance, assuming that Jameis Winston does not get it in his head to fling the ball all over the place as he is prone to do. So just 4 factors have to come together for us to succeed today.
Jameis Winston revenge game. He's going to light it up. This is what players love. It's whenever an ex-Browns player plays against the Browns, they do well. This is Jameis's chance to give us that revenge game.
Or Jameis tries too hard and forces it into coverage. That's an alternative too. So I'm seeing the glass half empty. Yeah.
That's my concern. Is he too jacked up, Casey? Is he going to be too jacked up coming into this one? You're the Winston guy here, the truther. Is he going to be too jacked up about going back into the Superdome? All his people fired up. He probably knows all the, the parking attendants and everybody there loves him. He's going to go in there all fired up. I don't want him to go in there trying to set the world on fire.
Keep it away from the honey badger. That's my key of advice there. He's got 38 career interceptions. He's someone who's so opportunistic, doesn't get talked about enough. But he's never picked off Jameis in the game. That's never happened. And there were the interviews were really exciting this week between both teams because the Saints, several of them, Demario Davis, they've all talked so glowingly of Jameis. Matthew was one as well. So there's going to be a healthy competition going on, but they all believe that the Saints truly believe that Jameis is going to go at him. He's going to challenge him. So. Yeah. It's about giving your wide receivers opportunity and protecting when you can. But there's going to be a couple YOLO balls. There always is out of Jameis.
Of course. And revenge game both ways as Joe Woods on the opposite side of things here today, coming back to try to haunt the Browns with his defensive, his very how do you want to say this? His very conservative cover 3 look that he used to run in Cleveland, still running in New Orleans. So speaking of the defense, they do take the ball away. You mentioned, guys, this 15 takeaways, 12 interceptions. However, they're 28th in total defense, 29th in pass defense, 27th in rushing defense. Not great across the board. The offense should be able to have some success. Guys, the first name on my list to watch for today for the Browns offense after Jameis is Nick Chubb. Said you feeling better? What are we going to get from the run game? What do you expect, Barry? Do you think at some point this year we will see is it going to be like a switch flipped? What are we looking for Nick Chubb here?
Well, we're hoping that. I mean, obviously it's so difficult to tell coming off the type of injury that Nick Chubb had. What Nick Chubb we're going to get. Obviously, we don't have the expectations of the 5.3 yards a carry that he's had throughout his career. They have to be muted. But if he's going to have a breakout game, if that switch is going to flip, you would expect today would be a very good day for that. Against this particular defense, he's got a shot at it, but I don't have that expectation personally. I think it's just going to take more time. I hope I'm wrong.
I'm with you. I have tempered or curbed expectations around Nick Chubb just in general this year. you've seen the vision, you've seen him set up blocks, do all the things that he does really special. Just haven't seen the burst yet. And as me and Casey talked about, sometimes with this injury, it just takes more time. It's the season after the season a lot of times. What do you say, Jack?
Thursday Night Football, Steelers, 124 plus yards. If he's going to have a day where he's going to bring it, that's going to be the day.
That would be fantastic. That would be amazing. Larry in the chat saying Browns 31, Saints 20. Gotta love the optimism there. What's up, OG Philly? World's fastest in there. Casey, what do you expect from Nick Chubb today?
Just efficient, and Barry said it, 5.3 is probably out of the realm of possibilities. But give me a 4 or 5. Give me 4.5 today. Let's stay ahead of the sticks. Let him break 1 or 2 20 chunk runs. Just just stay explosive. Because we've seen little flashes, but like you pointed out, the vision's been there, the balance has been there. There's just been a little lack of explosion. So when he sees something, he's not able just to get it like he normally does to hit that second gear. So I just hit it once or twice, and just keep building, because I think we're going to see more and more of Nick Chubb looking like Nick Chubb as the season plays along. But I would just hope 3 or 4 times a day wow, that's Nick Chubb. If you give me that, I'd be happy with his performance.
And another part's just seeing the attempts rise, because the efficiency is one part of the game which we want to see maintained, but then it's also can he do more in a game? So his first week back was week 7, where he 11 rushes, then it's 16 rushes, then it's 15 rushes. If he can just start getting the north side of 20 on a consistent basis, that looks really, really promising. That, hey, can we get back into that discussion of the ceiling's probably lead in a committee back, and you've only got like 3 or 4 running backs that are like dominate a backfield across the entire NFL. But if he's leading a running back and sort of getting 60% of your rushes, that's the place where you feel really, really good about next season. I think that's certainly a very, very attainable thing of sort of leading a backfield.
Yeah, Larry mentioning in the chat, will this be Jamari Thrash breakout game? It was asked in the press conference to Dorsey, I think, about Thrash, if they were working him in after the bye week. I was hoping they were gonna. He kind of gave a real non-answer to the whole thing. I was hoping that he would get worked in, but with Tony now in the mix too, I don't know if it's gonna happen. But one guy that I will have my eyes on today, big time, Cedric Tillman. He's got to continue to stack good games. If he can continue to do that and look good out there, it's a massive, massive victory in this season that feels lost at times. If you can come out of this feeling like Cedric Tillman is the real deal, it changes your outlook for the entire offseason. Barry, do you feel like what you've seen from Cedric so far has surprised you, A, and B, do you expect it to continue?
Well, it's almost like you read the bloviation this morning, because that's exactly what I wrote on Ced Tillman. I want to see consistency from him, right? He's starting to look like he could be that number 2 wide receiver. And if he is, that means that we can change our priorities this offseason a little bit, right? We can start looking at some other roles that need to be filled, and maybe not spend as much capital in free agency and in the draft on a wide receiver, and that's absolutely critical. I also was very enthusiastic about seeing Thrash today. I loved what I saw of Jabari Thrash during the preseason, and I was a little bit disheartened that we haven't been able to see more of him in the regular season. I love the way he goes after the ball and the physical nature that he plays that position. And I agree with you that I don't know if there's going to be enough passes to go around to be able to see much of him today, but I'm hoping that we do get to see a little bit of him. But Ced Tillman, he just has to show us that he can do it week in, week out, and if he does, that is a huge plus for the Browns.
Casey, what do you think clicked for him? Was it just the guy throwing the football to him?
A competent quarterback helps. Someone who's going to throw to a spot and expect you to be at that spot. And I just want to see them continue to lean on his strengths. I feel like outside of David Njoku's, Tillman's the next physical receiver you have that can really do damage with the ball in his hands. So give him the ball early in slants and let him kind of turn upfield and be a physical element of your game, an extension of your run game. Be physical. And he does that for you. And he can do that. He can get deep and do stuff as far as a vertical playmaker. I love the physicality that he plays with, always falling forward, getting tough yards. And I feel like the rest of the way he should lead the team in targets.
The crazy thing, I'm going to come to you, Jack, on this, but like the crazy thing is it was like, it wasn't all there, right? Like mental mistakes, the route tree wasn't there coming into this year, but it's like all of a sudden it just like clicked for him, right? All of a sudden he's making big catches. He's where he's supposed to be. He's, catching with his hands. I don't know what happened to set that off, but Jack, you've been impressed, yes?
Yeah, in all honesty, we only have to go back to when the Amari Cooper trade happened. I said, hey, this is a great opportunity to Cedric Tillman to prove he could be the third wide receiver on the depth chart. Because at that point, the question wasn't answered whether you could promote him from 4 to 3 in good conscience for next season. It was like, hey, he's got this chance now. Can he be that? And now I think we're having that conversation of, can he be one of your reliables that you've got him, you've got Judy, and you can go out there? Because before that, it was like, you need to have that discussion of, do you throw 25 mil at T. Higgins and go, hey, T. Higgins is there with Judy, and then you can mix in a bit of Tillman after that, but it's not there and reliable. And part of the reason why I'm not too bothered about seeing too much of Thrash yet is if you can get more Tillman and Judy working really well as a combo, that's where you can throw 8 million at more next year, and you can run that back. And then you can go, hey, we might pick up a guy for 2 million. We could then go out and spend a first round pick on a wide receiver, then have Thrash. And actually, that's a unit that you're like, look, you're only committed 1 year to more, but you can have that conversation of, if you get the guy in the draft, suddenly it's a really, really good group. And you have to go all the way back. Andrew Berry, John Dorsey, Sashi Brown. The only time they've really spent any major draft asset is Corey Coleman. And yes, it didn't work out, but you'll struggle to find many teams across the entire NFL that since that sort of Corey Coleman draft just haven't picked sort of anything serious at wide receiver. So Cedric Tillman was the nearest we've got, and that's just not good enough. Yes, they've spent a lot of money across Cooper, Judy, OBJ, Landry, but they need to focus more on drafting top talent there, because it's the most important position to elevate a quarterback. So you've got to take it seriously. But I'm really keeping an eye on Elijah Moore here, because if Elijah Moore does well and Cedric Tillman does well, we could have a really, really nice route into next season. And that just means you're not spending 25 mil on Higgins. We can go start spending that sort of, 17 million maybe you're saving in that. Go blow that somewhere else. Who knows? You could be talking about top O-line prospects rather than above average.
The thing people forget about Moore is he's only 24 years old. He's the same age as half these rookies, right? I mean, it's crazy.
A month older than Tillman.
4 years already. Yeah.
A month older. That's just insane.
Yeah. Wild. So with all the years he's put in the league, year 4 now? So and just age 24, he has put a couple games together in a row. One good, one bad, one good, and see how we'll do here as we proceed. The other guys that are going to have to step into a big role today, Isaiah McGuire, obviously the trade of Zadarius Smith. McGuire going to take on an increased role. PFF grades have looked great. He has looked explosive at times. I'll go to you, Barry. What is he ready for this kind of a ramp up? It worked with Cooper at wide receiver with Tillman. Does it work here with Zadarius, the timing and giving McGuire some more responsibility?
Boy, I hope so. I can't give you a guarantee.
I know.
Can't give you a guarantee he does. The other guy I'm interested in is Okoronkwo, right? Because Okoronkwo steps into a bigger role here as well. And, to be quite frank with you, I was very excited about that acquisition, and it hasn't quite lived up to what I thought it was going to be when he came here. He seemed like a monster when we first got him, a guy who was really on the rise. And I'm sort of hoping that this combination of McGuire and Okoronkwo is going to step up to the occasion, that we're going to see more out of Agbo than we have been seeing. So I think the net effect, the cumulative effect of the two of those are going to make us forget about Za'Darius Smith fairly quickly. I have hope that it will. Not a guarantee because we haven't seen enough of McGuire, but the potential looks good, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you've got Alex Wright in the waiting. He's on IR, so you look good at that position, youthful wise. And it was interesting that Schwartz mentioned that he didn't mind playing Obo on rundowns either. Mm-hmm. So we'll see some of that today, which should be interesting to see how he sets the edge and handles that run, especially with Kamara. What are you expecting here, Case?
Well, it has been a small sample size, but he has been very encouraging for me. And he's applied some pressure as a pass rusher, but where he's really left his mark is as an edge-setting run defender. He's been excellent against the run. So for a guy limited experience to come in, kind of really show that he belongs, and I wrote about this. I do think that they've put themselves in a position to stop renting edge defenders to pair with Myles Garrett. I think once Alex Wright gets healthy, you got him, you got McGuire, and I'm very disappointed that Michael Hall got hurt this week and he's going to be on the IR. I thought he would have taken some reps at edge as well, and then you can use Ogbo as that situational pass rusher where he's really effective. And so I think you have a really good mix now. But it's about McGuire proving himself. He's going to have a much larger sample size by the end of the season from which to judge him. But what I've seen so far is very encouraging, and the Saints are a run-heavy team, so we'll see a lot of it today.
Yeah, and it's a guy they've truly developed, right? Here it's taken a year or two, right? And he's worked his way into this role, and he looks good. What is this, if he does look good and it does work out, Jack, what does this do for the offseason? At the position? Casey mentioned not renting a guy anymore to start opposite him. How would you approach the edge position?
Yeah, it's 12 million saved in theory, looking at basically what they've done. And as well, it's not that 12 million, a chunk of that will need to go to extending Myles Garrett. So if they can move 6 million of that into a Myles Garrett extension and then 6 million saved for somewhere else, that's a really, really nice spot to be. And in terms of pressure rate, he's done an incredible amount. So Myles Garrett sits at 17.4% pressure rate. McGuire's at 14.5%. So, yeah, he's not Myles Garrett. I don't think anyone needs to do any analysis to work that one out. But he is well within that sort of range of the Robin to the Batman level of play that you're after. The question is, can he go from 25 snaps a game to 40? And that's what we're going to use the rest of the season to find out. So, yeah, really, really positive there. And Casey touched on Mike Hall. Losing Mike Hall was gutting. Not so much for, what his development is. I don't think that will so much slow down, but it was just proving, can he go out there and play 60% of snaps a game? Because if we get that proof, suddenly we have the conversation of, well, if Mike Hall can semi-replace Tomlinson, we can keep paying Tomlinson at 15 mil a year, or we can go 15, it might be slightly under that, I'll double check in a sec, move that money and go invest it in someone else, because you could say, actually, we're going to take 4 million for Jefferson, 15, I think it's somewhere around 15 mil for Tomlinson. That's 19 mil that you spend on two guys instead. So it's one that I think the more young talent plays well, they don't even have to become starters. It just frees up money to go and blow a big chunk of change in some of these areas where you want to bridge it, because we don't need it at edge potentially. We don't really need it at linebacker. We don't need it in some other spots, and that opens up some more fun. We can start looking at some bigger names. Don't expect Andrew Berry to go crazy in free agency. Very rarely has he crossed 10 mil. We're talking Hooper, Tomlinson, Conklin. I'm struggling beyond that. So it's not one that they throw lots of money at free agency. But if you start getting 8 million guys rather than 3-4 million guys, they are a distinct level above.
Yeah. Very good. You're watching the OBR streaming network. This is the pregame show. Browns Saints 1 p.m. today at the Superdome. Jack was just talking about not throwing a bunch of money at stuff, and one way that you can get stronger without throwing a bunch of money at stuff is Core Home Fitness, baby. Core Home Fitness, our friends over at Core Home Fitness. Go to corehomefitness.com and check out their assortment of lifting equipment, especially their top-rated adjustable dumbbells, which are rated, top rated by New York Times and Men's Health. They're also rated a Best Buy by Consumer Reports. I was actually at the website earlier today. They have other products. You can get benches there. You can get bars. You can get the dumbbells. You can get the Glute Drive Plus and the Fight Master. Crush your goals in 2024. It's awesome stuff. It's really affordable way to set up a home gym. And if you're looking to get in shape and get those gains, this is the way to do it through Core Home Fitness at corehomefitness.com. Go ahead and watch their videos over there. They've got a U.S.-based support team, fast shipping, hassle-free returns. You name it, they know what they're doing. Again, check out Core Home Fitness for the ultimate in-home fitness equipment. They have stepped up to sponsor the OBR, and we appreciate them huge. Bring the gym home, baby. Get better every day with Core Home Fitness. Go check out the website. Really cool stuff, genuinely. And we thank them very much for supporting the OBR and sponsoring the show. All right, gentlemen. Core Home Fitness, it's the bomb. Got to do it. Let's get to some prediction time. Yeah, let's go around the horn here and figure out what you guys expect today. Score-wise, I know it was so funny. I was looking at our prediction article, and somebody wrote in the comments, they're like, I think it was on Twitter, they were like, I feel like I need to put the home field -3 on each one of these scores for you guys. They're calling us a bunch of homers, but that's okay. Anyways, Barry, what do you expect, game sequence, game theory, kind of what are you hoping for? And score-wise, how can the Browns win this game? What are your keys? And what is your prediction?
Well, just basically reduce some mistakes, right? I mean, they were competitive against the Chargers. The problem was mental breakdowns, right? Breakdowns on special teams, breakdowns in the defensive backfield. I'm just looking after the bye week for them to reduce the number of mistakes. And if they do, and good Jameis shows up today, this team has every potential. World's Fastest Fat Man says suck less. I think that basically encapsulates my approach to this game. They have a chance to win, and I'd call it 24-20 Browns. I think they can do it.
Nice. 24-20. Very good. Case Dog, what do you got, man? What are you thinking? This is a defense that can be exploited. The defense hasn't been bad except for their gaffes, really, right? Like their miscommunications and breakdowns on the back end, which were so costly. What do you expect as far as game script, keys to a win and your score?
Physicality. Be the more physical team. Win in the trenches first. I'm looking at matchups. We got Myles Garrett going against a rookie Ese Fuanga. And I love Fuanga coming out of the draft. Super physical. He's a mauler in the run game, but he overextends as a pass protector. And one thing that happened 2 weeks ago when we played the Chargers, they got outshined because of the mistakes and the way you lost is Myles really came on. We started to see him dominate. You can do that against this rookie. Fuanga's given up 7 sacks so far this year. Myles could add to that total and really put pressure on Carr. And offensively, I know it sounds counterintuitive. I need James to be aggressive. And when make your interceptions count, make them be punts. If you're going to put take shots, take chances, and when you're going to get to see the exact opposite in Derek Carr. Derek Carr is very risk adverse. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way. Tips and overthrows you need to capitalize on when those happen, but he'll throw the ball away a lot. I don't want Jameis playing scared. Don't let last week affect you. Go out there and just take this game. Be aggressive. Oh, my bad. 23-20.
All right, 24-20, 23-20. Love to see it. You guys can throw your score predictions up in the chat if you want to. Let's go to Jack Duffin. Jack, game script analysis, keys to the game, and a score, sir.
I think it will be a pretty comfortable performance. I think the score might be closer. It wouldn't surprise me if we give up that sort of pathetic, annoying touchdown at the end after the game's won, because they'll probably try and put some other guys in there for a final drive. But it's one that I think everything ticks like it should be well. When you've got 5 skill guys of Chubb, Njoku, Judy, Tillman, and Moore, there's no superstars based on where they are now. Obviously, Nick Chubb was a superstar. He's not quite at superstar level, but they're above average across the group, where you say, hey, you put them sort of up there, every one of those guys, that should cause fits. And Jameis Winston's done a great job of sort of having a look at a couple of sort of options and getting that ball out in 2.5 seconds, which means the O-line's suddenly a lot better. It's not so much the guys out there. If the ball's out in 2.5 seconds rather than 3, whatever O-lineman you put out there are going to look significantly better. So I think focus on the passing game. We saw what happened sort of 2 games ago against the Ravens. If the ball's out quick, Jameis can find pockets, and suddenly these wide receivers look like they were miles open. Don't think anything dramatic's really changed. Just the ball, when it's out quicker, guys are in more space. Kevin's done a great job of scheming guys open sort of over his entire career as sort of play caller and sort of offensive mind. So I expect that to continue. And penalties have been down since he's been in this newer role. So it's only a 2-game sample. We really need the rest of the season to judge it. But I expect a dominating performance. I think something close like 23-20. But I think we might be sat there entering the fourth quarter going, hey, we're on 23-13. We're not that worried. And then it's just like the last 2 minutes of the game, we give up a drive when we'll play a little bit more prevent. And I don't mind playing prevent when if you're in the last 2 minutes and they need to score twice, then give them a softer touchdown if it takes 90 seconds to get it done.
Yeah, it should be interesting. There's a lot of stories within the story here. There's a lot to watch with the Browns. Even outside of that, though, we talked about Chubb, Jameis, McGuire, Tillman, Diabate, DeJuan Jones, all kind of stories in themselves and positive trending players that you can watch for. But even if the Browns could win this one, somehow find a way to turn around and win on Thursday, first of all, it would change Thursday night a lot if they could win this one. It would create a raucous environment at home, night game. And if they could turn around and win that one, all of a sudden you're 4-7 and, hope, even delusional hope starts to kind of creep back in. And that's okay. That's okay. I would, much rather have that than the other way. So get this one first, though, because it's definitely a winnable game. I have them winning 24-13 in my prediction today, as I saw James talking about it. Cornerback gets an interception for the Browns today for the first time all year. First time, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
JOK is the only interception on the season.
That's right.
Yep.
First interception by a corner all year today. I'm going to call Martin Emerson. A little redemption right there, my guy. So any parting words, guys, before we get out of here? Go get situated on your couches, get your food ready, get your feet up, get ready to enjoy some Browns football. We will be back 7 p.m. tonight for the post game to break it all down for you like nobody else can do at the OBR streaming network. Keep it locked over at theobr.com for all the written content as well. Jack, Barry, everybody over there, Pete, Fred, the legend, Sam, everybody doing all their work over there. I know I'm forgetting people, but the entire OBR crew, thank you guys for participating in the show. Wouldn't be the same without you in the chat. Hit like and subscribe on your way out, and go enjoy the game. Go Browns, baby. For Barry, Casey, and Jack, my name is Brad Ward. We are out. Go Browns.